Welcome to the Life of Christ in Stereo with Dan and Lee. Today we're going to be looking at how Jesus was rejected by the Jews and how he moved to the Gentiles and the practical applications of all that. So let's get going, Miss Lee. How are we doing today?
Doing okay. We're doing okay.
Well, you've gotten through your operation.
Yeah.
You're seeing out of both eyes a little bit.
Yeah. One eye okay, the other eye a little bit.
How much is it? Up to what percent?
Of how I feel or what I'm seeing?
Well, let's do your feelings, because your feelings are all that matters.
I'm at about 91%.
91% of how you feel.
Of capacity of.
But let's try what's real.
I still have about a quarter of my eye.
What percentage are you seeing now?
Well, everything's still fuzzy, but I still have this bubble in the bottom of my eye, about a third of my eye.
So you're saying you're up to 33%?
60.
6? Oh, that's a mark of the beast.
I guess. No, let's not go. Let's say 65% then. We don't want that.
How about 67?
No, I like 65.
Okay, 65%. Well, anyway, we taken a couple weeks off to work on Lily and her getting her eyes so we can continue rereading. But now we're back to the Life of Christ in Stereo today, and it is sunny in Florida. The moss is on the trees. It rained yesterday. Just a beautiful spring day. So, Miss Lee, do you want to start reading? Give us the passages.
All right. We're starting a whole new section called A Ministry in Gentile Regions. And today we're reading about crumbs from the children's table.
Okay, but what verses?
I'm going to give those.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You didn't let me finish.
I thought you'd left it out.
No, I hadn't forget it. Matthew 15, 21 through 28, and Mark 7, 24 through 30. Now, should I read?
Now, I think it's important, though, we tell people this Life of Christ in Stereo book is an old book that really is, I don't even know if it's in print, but you can buy it on Amazon as a used book. And I've used it for many, many years because I like to focus on how Christ did his ministry. So many people like to focus on how Paul did his ministry. And Paul was the shadow. Paul was to the Gentiles. Paul was important. Paul was an apostle. But we are to be not like Paul, we're to be like Christ. Although we can be like Paul because he was a pretty good guy too. But it's the difference of being like the shadow versus like the real person. So if I want to be a disciple, I don't want to be a disciple of Calvin or Luther or John Locke. Those are all important people and they did really good. Pastor Smith down the street. I want to be a disciple of Christ, and that's the key. And that's why we like this book, Life of Christ in Stereo. So let's begin reading.
Okay, well, I'm just going to put a little footnote to that. I don't know if we've had this book this long. I know it's a pretty old book. The fourth printing was done, the last printing, at least as far as I can see here, was in 1976, which sounds about right, doesn't it? That it's that old.
Yeah, we got the book probably
this
in
is probably a used
1973 or 72.
Something like The first edition came out, I believe, in 1969. So.
Yeah.
All right, so now that we got all that little editorial stuff.
Could have got the book in 70 even, it's possible. Yeah.
All right, again, crumbs from the children's table. I don't know why, but this has always been one of my favorite passages. I just like this.
Well, because you're crummy. No, I'm sorry, I didn't say that. I'm
then
crummy.
Jesus arose from that place and journeyed off into the region of Tyre and Sidon. And he went into a house, and he would have no one know it, but could not be hid. For behold, a Canaanite woman of that region, whose small daughter had an unclean spirit, having heard of him, came and fell at his feet. And the woman was a Gentile, a Syro-Phoenician by race. But she cried to him, saying, Have pity on me, Lord, Son of David. My daughter is sorely afflicted with a demon. And she begged him to cast out the demon from her daughter.
Now this is really key because here Jesus has left Jerusalem, Judea, and now he's up in Tyre and Sidon. which are really, really where the pagans lived, the mixed race. It's kind of the area in which Jonah didn't want to go because they weren't very good people. And in that area up there, they were the Phoenicians. The Phoenicians were barbaric peoples that had ships and went all over the world and conquered. They were very, very, very pagan people. So
Kinda
here,
like pre-Vikings or something like
well,
that.
they were the Vikings of the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could say that, because at that time there were a number of people. The Mohammedan, well, that came later. The Mohammedans, the Vikings, the Phoenicians. They were all, these were people of the seas that conquered by coming in from the sea.
Mm-hmm. Are you want me to go on now? Okay, so then, okay, so she begged him to cast out this demon from her daughter, but he answered her not a word. And his disciples came and besought him, saying, "Dismiss her, for she is crying after us." So she must have been bugging them, I guess.
Well, he was bugging him, but she was also a Phoenician.
Yeah, she's like...
She wasn't a real Jew. She wasn't even a good Samaritan. She not a good Samaritan, but a good Samaritan.
And so she's kind of, to me, it's like she's kind of looked at in that area of the country like Mary Magdalene was looked at. It's like, this is the lowest
These
scum
are the
of the
lowest
earth.
scum
What do you
of
want
the
to have
earth.
anything to do with these people?
Just like every culture. And you know, when you say, well, they were racist. Of course they're racist. Everybody's got racism. Everybody puts other people lower than some people. And there's a value to that, too, where you don't exalt the murderer as equal to the mother, because they're different. It's not racism that is that basis.
It's character difference.
And it's not discrimination. Actually, you're to do what's right, and you're to further good. And to do that, you have to discriminate between good and evil. And that's where the new liberal secularism has redefined good as not discriminating versus
anything.
You know,
You
you can't have any judgments.
Right.
Don't judge. Don't judge. No discrimination. No judging. And that just neutralizes the gospel. And that is one of the great evils of that concept.
Okay, so then, and this shows, I think this answer shows the compassion that Christ has for all men. It says, then he, meaning Christ, answering said, I was not sent but to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. I think he's trying to explain to her that I can't help you. You're not Jewish. I was sent to the lost sheep of Israel. But she made, I don't know what this word is,
Well, why was he sent to the lost sheep of Israel? I mean, he's telling the truth.
Well, because those were God's chosen people.
So they're better than everybody else?
No, but God chose them
For what?
out as to glorify him.
For the Messiah to come and save the world.
Right.
And see what you're about to see is, it's not that Jews are better. Lee has struggled with this because she has a Jewish background, and you know, she likes to think she's a little better than everybody. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. She's just giving me the dirty look, the Jewish look, the Jewish mama look. Okay. Anyway, the idea of the your look just took all my brain cells.
That's good. I'm glad, because I'm not the sick one here.
Anyway, Jesus is very correct in saying that he came as the Messiah for Israel. But Israel has just rejected him, basically. And here God is taking you. And this is a good lesson. You know, the Bible that you speak may get rejected in the culture that you're in. And that is not a bad thing. Later we'll see that you dust your feet and you move to another culture. And you talk to them. See, cultures are not absolute. The Bible is absolute. That's the culture that is eternal.
So she said to him, Lord, help me. And Jesus said to her, let the children get filled up first. Which he's talking about the house of Israel.
The house of Israel, yes.
Let the children get filled up first, for it is not good to take the children's bread and throw it to the little dogs. But she answered and said to him, Oh, yes, Lord, for even the little dogs eat of the children's crumbs that fall from their master's table.
Wow.
What?
I'm
Wow.
just listening.
Oh, well.
You said it's your
I'm
favorite.
just-
You said it's your favorite. I figured you had a
well,
lot to say about
I think
it.
what it's saying is, here, she's got like a, if you want to say, a great theological argument, and, back before theological arguments were a big thing. But she's saying, that's okay. I don't care if you compare me to a little dog of nothing. The little dogs still get to eat whatever the children drop on the
Because
floor.
God even loves the little dogs.
Yeah, He does. And
So,
it's like a good example is our dogs. We don't feed them from the table, but man, they are there watching for any crumb. And boy, as soon as you drop a crumb, it's gone. You really don't even need a vacuum cleaner for food, because the dogs just instantly take care of it. And that's what she was saying. She says, look, it's okay. The masters feed their children first. That's good. Like God feeds His children
and it really
first.
the principle here is Jesus had first. He had been going to the Jews. He
Yeah.
went to the synagogues. He went to they rejected him. He went to all the cities. They rejected him, and now he's up into this pagan area. And you're seeing this beginning of the transition to the age of the Gentiles. But go ahead.
And you think of the main dish of food, say a loaf of bread. That's easy to figure out crumbs from. A loaf of bread is fragrant and beautiful. It tastes wonderful. It looks beautiful. But as you cut it and eat it, crumbs fall from it on the ground. And they're really, crumbs are like
Crummy.
dust. You wouldn't really actually even notice them. But she's willing to take even that, because she realizes, that even the lowest person on the earth can lick up the little crumbs.
Well,
so in other words, whatever God's got left over, she's willing to take.
In God's kingdom, even the lowest on the earth is exalted above where she is.
Mm-hmm.
And where she is her life's falling apart.
So anyway, I think that's, it just shows that, everyone is significant in God's eyes.
Okay.
All right, then Jesus answering said to her, and this is amazing, "O woman, great is your faith. For this answer your request is granted." Now, who else did he say great is your faith to?
Oh, who was that?
The centurion.
Oh, yes, it was the centurion.
Another Gentile.
Well, what's interesting, it's another Gentile, but it's two that are rejected by the Jews.
Jewish society.
By the religious society. The warmongering imperialistic soldier and the poverty-stricken
Phoenician, Syro,
Gentile
person.
pagan person, okay? And now they couldn't stay in their ideas that those came from those philosophies, but they had great faith to come from the paganism and from the warmongering to Christ. And that was...
And realize that He is Lord of Lords and King of Kings.
And King of Kings. That all authority has been given to Him in heaven and earth. Yeah.
And go your way, Jesus is continuing to speak. Go your way, the demon has gone out from your daughter. So her daughter was restored from that hour, and on going back home she found that the demon had gone out and her daughter was lying on the bed. That's the end of that section.
Well, it's an amazing thing here that how Christ is making this transition. And many times in our personal lives, we have a dream. And what's that wonderful movie that we saw about the dreaming? That was
A Wrinkle in Time?
Yeah. What was that? That was interesting.
There was a line in there, and I'm not sure if it's original to the book, but in the movie it said, "Don't let your dreams drug you."
Yeah. And that is the modern man. Modern man, I was just reading a guy on Facebook that I friended today, and he was saying, don't let your dreams, don't let anybody hold you from your dreams. And it really is a whole idea that dreaming is really a pagan idea that you base your life on it.
Yeah.
I mean, having a dream or dreaming or thinking up ideas or imagination, that's all godly. But that you say, that's the truth. That's what I live for. And that is really New Age. It's pagan. And here...
Well, I think it's too, people say, I had a dream from God. Like it's a vision. Okay, well that's fine. But how you have to test that against the Bible. Is it true to what the Bible says? Not just, because otherwise it's either demonic or you're just doing some power struggle. This person wants you to do something. It has to go back to what does the Bible say is true.
And that's where most people, their dreams is about being a millionaire, being rich, and being able to do anything they want with their money. That's almost always the dream.
Yeah.
That's called the American dream. The problem is that isn't Christian. Your dreaming can seduce you, just like Satan can seduce you, and just like lust of the flesh.
What does a drug do to you? It puts you in like a trance-like mode where you don't think about anything else,
except
and you
that dream.
think this dream is just the truth, and you can leave destruction in your pathway trying to pursue this dream.
And I think that brings us to kind of the current election, where we have two front runners now: Ted Cruz, who believes in the Bible and the Constitution, and you have Donald Trump, who really doesn't even know the Bible, and he's not read the Constitution, but he wants to be our king, and he's going to make us great again. Well, that brings us back to the issue of Israel had that same choice, and they wanted to be like the other nations, to have this big dream of being famous and powerful and have a king. And that's where we as Christians, we are lawful people and we are biblical people, and we need to realize that there is a big difference between the Trumps and the Cruzes, and it's the difference between the gospel and the demonic. The demonic is what is that phrase again? I can never remember it.
Don't let your dreams drug you.
Don't let your dreams drug you. And I just see so many of the people, it's like a drug. They used to want America to return to the Constitution, and now they just want a king that's going to make America great. But he has no plan and has no way to do it. And it's just sad to see this shift. And I think it is a choice we have and a freedom we have, that God has given us this opportunity. And it's very practical how this concept comes down to the real life. But we're at the end of this. The transition is made. We're now from the Jews to the Gentiles. That's why America exists, because America is where the Gentile nations begin to follow the Lord as a nation. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord.
Amen.
And that is what America was all about. And just to throw in here, because we got just a little bit of time, is I'm doing a study, I'm writing an article right now about Harvard, and how Harvard, as we think of it, is the ultimate pagan
institution today. Law.
Well, college, you could say, because they've left the concept of a university, which was the Christian concept, which they originally started, which was to train young men in the gospel and good manners. And the whole idea of this was they were following veritas. Now, the word veritas is the Latin word for truth. And they divided that into three ways. And the truth was revealed in creation, it was revealed through reason, and it was revealed through the Bible. So what happened, you would take those three ideas and you study so you could have wisdom to live in the real world. And that's where we began to see, as I'm doing this article, I'm really seeing that Christians need to rethink their concept of university. Because today, because truth is true for you or true for me, it's because there is no absolutes, there is no infinite personal God who reveals truth, there can only be truth for you and truth for me. So truth has become fragmented, and that leads to, well, you have to have imaginary dreams. And that's where it comes back to the dreaming. So we need to return to the biblical concept of university. And Lee and I are working on our project to do that. We'll be telling you more about it in the future. Any other things today?
That's it for today.
Well, we're just healing, so we're not going to go the full course of the thing, and we'll see you next week.